Hey everybody, Sprigshill here. Hello. This is not my normal vlog. This is a different type of vlog. This is kind of a critique of a series that I watched recently. You may have seen my Facebook post about it. You may not have done. This may be completely, whoa, what's going on? I will kind of explain. I watched a series, or two of the three episodes of a series called World Wars, which is on the History Channel. You may have already seen it. You may not have seen it. You may be planning to see it. Whatever. Before you do, listen to some of the warnings that I will give you about this series, because it's quite a long series. It's roughly 90 minutes in length. It's more like 2 hours if you add all the adverts in, unfortunately. And then on top of that, there are two main overriding issues which kind of spoil the series for me. The first thing is that because it's very American, it's very much overly dramatized. It's very much Hollywoodized, as it were. It's all about the action and the kind of the cutscenes where they show the live action stuff. They use very little footage of historical events, you know, the stuff that's actually there, the stuff that was taken. They use a lot of actors, a lot of kind of action sequence, which to begin with, they look accurate, but the more you look into them, the more you look to the weapons that they used and to some of the effects that they used, it looks actually really, really kind of cheap and poorly done. Especially the fact that in some cases, some of the British forces that were shown in the first part in particular, during the First World War, they weren't using Enfield rifles. They were using these others, I think they were Mosin Nagants, which are the Russian rifles, which makes kind of no sense whatsoever. So, I mean, I don't remember even seeing a German rifle either. The Kar 98, I think it is, the Carbiner. It just felt very, very poorly done and overly dramatized. There were bits that were just. I mean, there was young Hitler, and his kind of, it shows him cutting his moustache to the length that you see in all the pictures that you see of him when he's doing his bad shit. And it just seems pointless. It really does seem pointless to show all this stuff. Anyway, that was one issue that I had with it. The second issue was the fact that in a lot of areas it was very inaccurate. A lot of the facts that they actually tell you, you know, the people that they get in to interview, most of the stuff they say is absolutely fine because they're historians. They're people that kind of, you know, have learned this history, and they've got insight into the people around, like Chamberlain, for instance, and Churchill, and Roosevelt, and, you know, Stalin, and all that sort of stuff. You know, they've got the history, so they know, they've learnt this sort of stuff. But the people who actually wrote the series, when they gave their narrator, who was Jeremy Renner, I think it is Renner, the guy who played I don't know, the guy in Avengers. Anyway, that part of the series, the series where the narrator was basically narrating what was happening, the inaccuracies in what he was saying were inept, in all honesty. They were pretty shocking. Let me give you an example here. In 1917, the Russians were fighting alongside the Allies in two fronts towards Germany. Now, the Germans sent Lenin, I think it was Vladimir Lenin, or it might not be Vladimir, it might be someone else. They sent Lenin to Russia to basically start a revolution. Lenin and Stalin then overthrew the Russian government, or sorry, the Russian royal family, the Tsar, and created the Soviet Union, ending the Russian front of the war and helping Germany out. That's the way that the history works. Stalin would then later become the actual overall leader of Soviet Union in 1922. Now, in this series, it's portrayed as if that Stalin and Lenin basically took control of the Russian people's government, whatever, the Soviet Union, literally with themselves and a couple of mates that walked up at the palace and killed some people, killed the royal family, and then Stalin becoming the overall leader in 1917, which is completely incorrect. That's just not the way it worked. And this kind of annoyed me because I didn't know for sure until I read it up that what they said was true. I thought, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right at all. I need to look this up because I may have learned this wrong. So I looked it up, and that's when I realised they made that massive mistake. Another massive mistake that may or not be kind of integral to the accuracy of this series was the fact that it was stated in, I think, the second episode, A Rising Threat. It was stated that Germany invaded France by sending 4 million troops into France. Just straight into France. Which, from any history buff or anyone who knows anything about history to do with the World War II, knows that Hitler didn't send any troops into France via France. They didn't go straight into France because there was this thing called the Maginot Line, which the French have created along the border with Germany to stop any kind of invasion from Germany straight. Okay? What actually happened was the Germans went through Netherlands and Belgium to get to France, hence going around the Maginot Line. In this series, there's no mention of the Maginot Line whatsoever. There's no mention of the fact that there was any British forces involved, which there were. Not very many, but there were British expeditionary forces, which was sent to try and help. Didn't work very well. There's no mention of Dunkirk. There's no mention of the fact that they went through Belgium or the Netherlands. There's only kind of an afterthought of that by stating that once France had surrendered and capitulated and whatever, then Netherlands and Belgium capitulated or surrendered, whatever. Which is complete, absolute bullshit, basically. It comes down to the fact that that's just absolute. They literally covered that section in about 2 minutes. It literally said, Germany then invaded France, sent 4 million troops. France then gave up after a few days. It didn't say that. This is me paraphrasing. Then Belgium and the Netherlands followed suit. That was it. That was it about the invasion of France. No mention of Dunkirk, no mention of anything British, no mention of the fact that it didn't take just like a week. It took like 3 or 4 weeks to get everything sorted. It did mention, I think, the fact that it only took Hitler a certain amount of time compared to the fact that it took 4 years or something to get as far as Hitler did in like 2 weeks or something. I think that may be accurate, may not be. So that's it's just disappointing, really. Just disappointing that they leave out massive facts like that and then focus the rest of the series, the rest of the episode, on talking about America, which in a way is kind of expected. It's an American series. You know, it didn't overly feel biased towards the Americans in the sense that it was always about the Americans. It wasn't. There were aspects that really just kind of pushed the series towards America. Just every area, it went from Britain to America, and then America to Germany, and then back to America again, and then back to, say, Japan, and then back to America, and then back to Russia. In fact, Russia was not really talked about for most of the second session until the start of the Second World War, which was about halfway through the second part of the series. And then it goes back to America. Talk about the Depression and the fact that they're having a bit of a war with Mexico, or their year involvement in World War One. The fact that they're praised as being the super saviours of everything and super. Yeah, well, Patton being amazing and MacArthur being fantastic, and the fact that their president's amazing and all this sort of stuff. It just felt slightly biased towards the fact that America came in and swooped in and did all the fantastic things. Yay America, America. Yeah. So I didn't like that at all. What I want from these sort of series is, I want the facts. Not interpreted facts, not dramatized facts. I want facts. Just wall-to-wall facts. What happened? How did it affect this? How did it do that? There. Good. The best series for anything to do with World War II, to begin with, is the series called The World at War. It's a fantastic series. It's about 26 episodes. It's an hour each episode, roughly, or 45 minutes each episode. It goes into so much detail about all this sort of stuff. I recommend you watch it. Go out and get it on DVD or whatever. It's fantastic. For a World War One series that you may want to watch, there was an English one done called The Great War, and that's 28 episodes long, and that's is it 40 minutes? It's 40 minutes per episode. It's a bit old, as is The World at War. It's a little bit aged, but it does exactly what it says on the tin. It explains everything from moment one to the moment it ends. It explains everything. There's aftermath, and there's like a precursor. Okay? Avoid the world wars, this condensed Americanized piece of shit. What I came up with a kind of like a little tagline to put on the poster. I gave it 1 out of 10. Overly dramatized American shit. Avoid if you like historical accuracy. Alex Briggs. As you can tell, I'm a little bit annoyed about this, because they could have done amazing things with this. The dramatized bits could have worked if the factual aspects of it were accurate to a certain extent. I'm not saying that everything in the series was inaccurate. A lot of the things they got right. A lot of the things they explained quite adequately. Some of the people they got on there is quite amazing. Some of the people that they interviewed for aspects of the thing, at the beginning of the first episode, Obama has a little minute conversation. During the whole scene, you've got people like John Major, who was the Prime Minister of England or the UK. You've got Senator Dick Cheney, I think, was in it a little bit. You've got a variety of other politicians and historians and all kinds of things. I think you've got the Italian Prime Minister at one point talking about Mussolini. Some of the aspects of the series was really well done. Okay, it was really well done. My issue is the Americanized shit that they seem to add. There's a break every 15 minutes where the film or the series goes down, it blacks out for the advert, and then when it comes back up, you then have like 30 seconds or a minute worth of recap of what's just happened in the bit before the advert, which I think that just tops it for me, because this is going to sound really rude, but it's as if it was made for people who have got no attention span whatsoever. So it's like, before the break, it's like we're talking about I don't know, Chamberlain not sorry, Churchill has just been reappointed as the first admiral of the navy or whatever for Britain, and then it goes for a break, and it comes back and it says, it recaps a little bit about, Churchill getting sacked and the Gallipoli thing, and then it goes, he's just been reappointed as the first admiral as the navy, the position he held before all the World War II shit happened, and it literally recaps about 3 minutes before, the 3 minutes before, and it's like, I'm going to go for a cup of tea during this break, and it comes back, I've completely forgotten about what I've just witnessed. I'm retarded. That's the feeling I get when these people do this. And what that does for me, it just wrecks the series. Because if you spend like a minute or so recapping of what we've just seen in the previous 15 minutes, you waste because it's like a 90-minute program, you get adverts every 15 minutes or so. It's a 2-hour program, so you get an advert every 15 minutes. You've literally got like 6, 7, 8 of these events. So you're wasting like 10 minutes of a series just recapping on the previous 15 minutes. It just seems like a waste of time and effort. Is it because the American adverts are so intrusive and so kind of in your face that you're just like, your brain's literally blown away from your head? So that when you come back to watching the series, I didn't remember we was watching this. What's this? What's this all about? Interesting. I want to watch this. As if you haven't just been sitting there for the past hour watching the series. I don't know. It just seems rather silly to me. Rather silly. And the final kind of point I'm going to get to here. You may know me. I like playing with tanks. In terms of computer games, World of Tanks, War Thunder, Ground Forces, I like tanks. Tanks are great, okay? They're not great as in they're killing machines, but they're great. The thing that really bothered me was there was a dramatised scene where the Germans I think they're attacking Poland. They've just invaded Poland, right? Just before the Second World War started, and it shows some of the troops, it shows some of the tanks. Now, for the most part, some of the tanks are actually fairly accurate. However, there's a big however here. There's a scene where literally the Germans are attacking this building, and the point of view of the camera is looking down from a building onto a tank and a variety of troops that are shooting at the building. Now the tank turret turns around and fires at the building, and then it blacks out and it does all that sort of stuff. The problem is that if you look at the tank, I might even put a picture up so you can see it. The tank is actually a tank that doesn't exist in the Second World War, or it doesn't exist at that point in the Second World War, and it's not German. It's either a Russian or a Japanese. No, it's not even a Japanese. It might be a Chinese tank, a later Chinese tank. It is almost certainly not a German tank, and it's almost certainly not from the time period stated, around 1939. And that for me really just tipped the balance, just said, hey, fuck you, accuracy. Just shove that accuracy right up your arse. That's it. I can't go on from that, to be honest. That just tipped it for me. So, as I stated, if you want accuracy and historical accuracy, and you want something that you can fairly enjoy to a certain extent and actually learn something from, the World Wars series isn't something to watch. Okay? If you're like me, you'll just get annoyed with it and you won't enjoy it. So if you do want to watch any documentaries about the World Wars, World War I, World War II, then the ones I suggested earlier, The Great War and The World at War, both of which are a very, very good series to watch. probably the ones that most people would choose. Anyway, that's it from me. I'm sorry this has been so long-winded. It's probably been a lot rambly, very rambly, super rambly. But I had to do it because it was just so bad. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. See you soon. Bye bye.